They told you to be realistic, to play it safe, to fit in, follow the plan, stay grounded. But tell me, what dream worth having ever came from playing it safe? What destiny was ever born in the hands of the doubter? The world will whisper its fears into your ears until you mistake them for your own. But there comes a moment, a quiet, revolutionary moment, when something inside you rises and says, no more. That moment is belief, not the kind you recite, the kind you become. It is the inner fire that ignites when everyone else sees ashes. It is the whisper of the infinite inside your soul, daring you to rise when logic says fall. You were not made to survive. You were made to create, to command, to manifest. Look around. Every skyscraper, every aircraft, every empire carved from dust. It all started in the invisible. A thought, a dream, a belief. That's the seed of everything. And here's what they won't teach you in school. Your outer world is just a mirror reflecting your inner world. You want to change your life. Don't start with the money. Don't chase the titles. Start with the only thing that ever mattered, the story you tell yourself when no one's listening. Because if deep down you believe you're not enough, you'll sabotage every opportunity. If you believe the world is against you, you'll find evidence of it on every street corner. But if you believe, truly, unapologetically believe, that life bends to your vision, then reality has no choice but to follow. That's not mysticism. That's the law of life. Edison believed in the light long before the world saw it. He failed over 1,000 times, not because he was insane, but because he believed so deeply in the unseen that he refused to quit. Lincoln lost elections, suffered depression, and was told he would never leave. But belief kept him moving forward when the rest of the world gave up. Disney laughed out of studios, told he had no imagination, but he saw castles in the clouds long before there was Disneyland. They weren't lucky. They were believers, and belief is the womb of creation. But belief alone isn't enough. It must be earned, forged through struggle, shaped in fire. You want unshakable belief? Then get comfortable with pain. Because belief isn't about saying affirmations in the mirror. It's about what you do when everything collapses. It's standing in the ruins of your plans and still seeing the vision. It's daring to speak life into a dream no one else understands. That's belief. And it's where all manifestation begins. But here's the paradox. The world demands proof before it gives reward. But belief demands belief first. It says, act like it's already yours. Move like the doors are already open. Speak like the mountains have already moved. This is what separates the 5% who create life from the 95% who react to it. Because life doesn't respond to effort alone. It responds to certainty, to alignment, to boldness that says, this is who I am now and I will not retreat. Your mind is not just a processor, it's a projector. What you hold in your dominant thoughts, what you saturate your subconscious with day and night, that becomes the movie you call your life. You think it's coincidence that the fearful attract more fear, that the angry find more enemies, that the abundant always seem to have opportunities show up at the exact right moment? It's not chance. It's vibration. It's focus. It's belief made manifest. This is the modern alchemy, the inner to outer formula the ancients knew, and that thinkers like Napoleon Hill brought roaring into the 20th century. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That line isn't poetic, it's physics. And belief, when fully embodied, becomes the force that bends reality to your will. But here's the challenge. The world is built to kill your belief. From childhood, they taught you to fear failure, to avoid risk, to ask permission. They conditioned you to doubt yourself. Because a doubter is easier to control. But the greats, the rare few who rise, they deprogram themselves. They sit with their fears and stare them down. They question their limits. They dissolve the inherited beliefs and build new ones. Ones rooted in vision, not victimhood. You can do that too. You must. Because if you don't master your beliefs will master you. And most of them weren't even yours to begin with. They were handed to you by parents, teachers, culture. People who meant well but who never dared to dream for themselves. You think you're stuck? You're not stuck. You're hypnotized. You've been living under a spell cast by fear. And the antidote is belief. But belief is a muscle, and like all muscles, it must be torn to grow. You strengthen it by showing up again and again, even when you have no evidence. It will work. Especially then, you believe by being, not waiting. You believe by taking steps while the path is still dark. You believe by hearing no and answering with watch me. Because reality only respects the bold. It bows to the few who walk like giants before they've earned the title. This isn't arrogance. This is alignment with purpose. When you believe deeply in your mission, The universe reorganizes around you. Resources appear. People show up. Ideas arrive. Not because they weren't there before, but because you finally tuned your frequency to see them. Like tuning a radio dial, the signal was always broadcasting. You just weren't on the right station. Belief changes that. It puts your mind, heart, and spirit into reception mode. You don't just hustle, you attract. You don't just work, you create. But let me be clear, this isn't a shortcut. Belief is not magic. It is discipline in disguise. It is faith in motion. It is showing up to build the ark before a single drop of rain has fallen. Because deep down you know your rain is coming. You know there's something in you, something that won't be silenced, something that keeps you awake at 2 a.m., not with anxiety but with fire. That's your soul remembering who you are. And belief is the bridge from that soul fire to a life on fire. So if you're going to bet on something, don't bet on the market. Don't bet on approval. Don't bet on trends. Bet on your belief. Because belief is the seed, and your life is the harvest. But belief, real belief, is not built in the moments of applause. It's forged in the silence, in the invisible hours, when the world isn't watching, when you sit in front of a dream that hasn't yet come to life, and choose to pour your soul into it anyway. That's where champions are made. Not when they cross the finish line, but when they train alone, sweat pouring, lungs burning, doubts screaming, and they whisper to themselves, keep going. This matters. You see, the path to your dream isn't paved in gold. It's carved with scars, cut with sacrifice, lit only by the torch of your own belief. And if that torch flickers, the darkness rushes in. But when it burns bright, when it roars like a wildfire from within, then no external force, no rejection, no failure, no criticism can snuff it out. Because belief gives birth to resilience. Think of Thomas Edison again. 1,000 failed attempts to invent the light bulb, and he said, I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work. That's not ego. That's identity. A man who believed so completely in his mission that failure simply became feedback. When belief becomes identity, it no longer needs evidence. It becomes its own proof. It's not I hope. It's not maybe one day. It's this is already mine. Time just hasn't caught up yet. That level of belief changes your posture. It changes your voice. It changes what you tolerate, what you pursue, and how you rise after the fall. Because fall you will. Every visionary has been crushed before they were crowned. Henry Ford was told he didn't understand business. Before the Model T, he bankrupted 2 companies. But his belief wasn't in cars, it was in freedom for the masses. It wasn't about metal and engines. It was about possibility. And possibility is the oxygen of belief. That's what fuels you in the dark. Not comfort, not certainty, but the possibility that your dream is real and that you were chosen to bring it into the world. And you were. If you can see it in your mind, if it lives in your imagination, it is yours. Otherwise it wouldn't have been given to you. Dreams don't choose the luck, they choose the ready. And readiness isn't a skill, it's a decision. You decide to rise while others sleep, to speak life while others complain, to see doors where others see walls. That's the lens of belief. It rewrites your vision, not just for what is, but for what can be. And when you see through that lens, you stop living reactively. You stop shrinking. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting to be chosen, because you realize you already were. Your existence is proof that life itself believes in you. Think about that. You didn't have to be here, but you are. With breath in your lungs, a mind that dreams, a heart that feels. You've already won the cosmic lottery. And now your job is not to play small to make others comfortable. Your job is to rise, to shine so brightly that it gives others permission to do the same. That's what belief does. It creates ripples. When one person dares to believe, they change the temperature of a room. They shift the energy of a company. They alter the trajectory of a generation. Because belief is contagious. People don't follow titles. They don't follow wealth. They follow certainty. They follow the man or woman who walks into a room with no credentials, no backing, no safety net, and speaks with the clarity of destiny. You want to lead? Start by believing. Not in your resume, not in your past, but in your future. The one you're designing with every choice you make. Because belief is not passive. It demands action. It commands it. It doesn't say, I'll wait for the perfect time. It says the time is now, the path is mine, and I walk it. You don't need a guarantee. You are the guarantee. You don't need external validation, you need internal alignment. Because when your belief aligns with your actions, and your actions align with your purpose, you become unstoppable. That's how the great ones move. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't wait for permission. He believed in a world that didn't yet exist, and then walked straight into history to create it. He didn't lead with a sword. He led with conviction. And conviction is the child of belief. So ask yourself, what do you believe in so deeply that you'd walk alone for it? What vision are you willing to fight for in the dark, with no applause, no cheerleaders, no audience? What dream keeps knocking on your heart, even when you pretend not to hear it? That's your truth, that's your calling, and the only thing standing between that dream and reality is the strength of your belief. Not talent, not timing, not luck. Belief, the single most powerful force a human being can wield. And you already have it, buried beneath the layers of doubt, waiting to be awakened, waiting to be unleashed. So wake it, fan the flame, speed the vision, walk the path, and watch the world begin to bend. Not because it changed, but because you did. Because when belief is born, truly born, the old version of you dies, the timid self, the doubtful self, the one that needed approval. They fade, and in their place stands someone new, someone certain, someone capable, someone called. You don't chase your dream anymore. You become it. You become the living proof, the evidence, the embodiment. And that is the power of belief. And once you become it, once belief is no longer something you hold, but something you are, the world starts to bend in your favor. Not all at once, not with fireworks, but quietly, subtly, like the sun rising. After a long night, doors appear where there were only walls. Voices you once feared begin to echo with praise. Opportunities you used to chase now chase you. Because belief has a frequency. And when you vibrate at its level, everything out of alignment falls away. The fake friendships, the distractions, the inner noise, gone. And in their place, clarity. Clarity isn't just knowing what you want, it's knowing who you are and who you're not. When you believe, you stop auditioning for approval. You stop shrinking to fit in. You stop editing your truth to make others comfortable. You realize that your power was never in their permission. It was in your presence. People don't follow perfection, they follow authenticity on fire. That's why Walt Disney could be laughed out of over 300 banks and still keep going. Because he saw it. He saw castles before there was concrete. He heard laughter before there were gates. He lived in the vision so deeply, it was more real to him than the rejection. That's not delusion. That's creative faith. The kind of faith that bends reality. That paints pictures on empty canvas. That writes symphonies in silence. That sees what's possible and refuses to bow to what is. That's the spark that built civilizations. It wrote revolutions. It crossed oceans and carved empires out of wilderness. And you carry that same spark. But sparks alone don't light fires. They need oxygen. They need fuel. They need a decision. The decision to stop living like a shadow and step into your own light. Because belief without commitment is just a wish. But belief with action, that's manifestation. That's how the dream becomes real. Not with one giant leap, but with 1,000 unseen steps. Small choices, brave decisions, consistent effort when no one's clapping yet. You want to manifest your dream? Then start acting like it's already yours. Start walking, speaking, building and showing up like the version of you who's already living it. Not someday, not when things calm down. Now, because belief is not just mindset, it's embodiment. And embodiment sends a signal to the universe. A signal that says, I'm ready, I'm serious. I'm not hoping, I'm declaring. That's when momentum builds. That's when doors swing open. That's when people start calling you lucky. Because they didn't see the fire you carried when no one else believed. And make no mistake, most won't believe in you. Not at first. You'll be misunderstood, mocked, doubted, dismissed. But remember, people mocked the Wright brothers too. They said man was not meant to fly, that gravity was law, that chasing the sky was foolishness. But the Wright brothers weren't obeying man's laws. They were aligning with nature's. And nature rewards belief in motion. So they built. They failed. They failed. They failed. But they got back up. Again. And again. Until they touched the heaven. Until mankind looked up and saw proof that belief can fly. So don't be afraid to look crazy. Don't be afraid to be first. To speak the dream no one else understands yet. to take the step that has no precedent, because all great things begin that way. Steve Jobs said it best. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do, not the ones who wait, not the ones who blend in, the ones who believe irrationally, fiercely, relentlessly, the dreamers, the doers, the ones who stare into impossibility and see a blueprint. You want to change your life? Start by changing what you believe about it. Stop saying I'm stuck. Start saying I'm preparing. Stop saying I'm not good enough. Start saying I'm becoming. Because your words are seeds, and your belief is the soil. Plant power and you grow power. Plant doubt, and you reap delay. Speak only what you want to see. Think only what you want to build. Act only as who you want to become. Because the law of belief is ruthless. It will give you whatever you declare, good or bad. So what are you declaring with your life? Not just with your words, but with your habits? What are you teaching the world to believe about you? Based on how you carry yourself. Because belief isn't just what you think. It's what you train into every cell of your being. Through repetition, through discipline, through the relentless decision to keep moving forward. Even when it's slow, even when it's quiet, even when the dream feels distant. Because one day, and that day will come, you'll look back and realize it wasn't magic, it wasn't luck, it was belief. Belief that turned hours into mastery, that turned pain into fuel, that turned isolation into incubation, that turned an invisible idea into something the world could not ignore. That is the power you hold. And it doesn't require perfection. It requires permission from yourself to let go of what no longer fits, to rise beyond your story, to outgrow the version of you that plays small for the sake of comfort. Because you were never meant to shrink. You were built to expand, to overflow, to stand so tall in your truth that others remember their own. You were born to rise, and belief, true unshakable belief, is the staircase to that rise. Not borrowed belief, not conditional belief, but the kind that's etched into your bones, that wakes you up early, that moves you when you're exhausted, that roars when your voice is tired, and that says, no matter what happens, I am still becoming, I am still called, I am still coming for everything with my name on it. Because belief isn't the end of the journey. It's the engine that drives every mile of it. Belief is the engine. Yes, but it is also the anchor, the thing that holds you steady when the waves rise, when the skies darken, when everything you thought was certain begins to shake. Because it will shake. You don't climb toward a dream without the storm testing your grip. You don't grow into greatness without being carved by pressure, without being refined by fire. But here's what belief does. It keeps you anchored to the vision, not the situation. It reminds you that storms pass, that pain purifies, that adversity isn't the end, it's the initiate. Ask Thomas Edison how many times he failed before he lit the world. 10,000? More. They called him foolish. They said it would never work. But belief made him deaf to doubt. He didn't see failure. He saw progress. He didn't say it's not working. He said, I've found 10,000 ways not to do it. And that means I'm 10,000 steps closer. That's what belief sounds like. That's what belief does. It rewrites your interpretation of struggle. So instead of why is this happening to me, you start saying, what is this making of me? And that's where the shift happens. That's where destiny starts whispering louder than doubt. Because destiny doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for your attention. It waits patiently for the moment you get still enough and certain enough to hear it. And when you hear it, really hear it, there's no going back. You can't unsee the life calling to you. You can't unfeel the pull of purpose. You can't unknow the power rising inside of you. And from that moment forward, belief becomes not just a principle. It becomes a way of life. You wake up different. You walk different. You breathe with more fire. You speak with more certainty. You begin to lead your life, not follow it. No more drifting. No more waiting for signs. You become the sign. You become the proof that belief is not some airy wish. It is conscious design. That thoughts become blueprints. That words become weapons. That conviction becomes currency. And when you invest belief into your vision daily, when you compound that belief with action, persistence and purpose, the results are inevitable. Not instant, not easy, but inevitable. Because the universe doesn't ignore a soul on fire. You were never meant to live as a question mark. You were born to be an exclamation. A bold, unapologetic declaration of what's possible when a human being decides to believe. And not just believe in something, but believe as something. You are not separate from the dream. You are the dreamer. It's not something you chase. It's something you reveal. It's inside of you, waiting for the day you stop treating belief like a temporary emotion and start wielding it like a permanent identity. So rise. Stand tall in the vision only you were given. They may not see it. They may not understand it. But you do. And that's enough. You don't need the world to believe. You need one person to believe without hesitation. Because when you believe with everything in you, without plan B, without backup, without apology, the universe has no choice but to align. It must reflect what you project. So project greatness. Project the energy of someone who refuses to live small, who rejects mediocrity, who walks like they are already crowned. Because you are royalty in disguise, a giant wrapped in skin, a force of nature pretending to be ordinary. Stop pretending. Start remembering. You were not created to merely survive. You were born to build, to blaze, to become. So today, right now, in this moment, decide. Decide to believe. Not lightly, not conditionally, but fully, boldly, without restraint. Decide to believe when it's quiet. Decide to believe before the results, because that is when it matters most. Anyone can believe after the dream shows up, but legends believe before. That's what separates the great from the forgotten. So ask yourself, what would my life look like if I believed like it was already mine? How would I show up today? What would I build this week? What would I release, pursue, ignite? You already know. Now do it. The power is not out there. The power is not hidden in a book, or locked in some secret ritual, or waiting for the right timing. The power is you. And when you awaken it, when you unleash it, the world doesn't just shift around you. It transforms because of you. So don't just dream it. Don't just hope for it. Don't just talk about it. Believe it. And then become it. Because when you believe truly, fully, deeply, you don't just change your life. You become the kind of person who changes the world.